Former Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman has died. His family said he died due to complications from a fall inside his home. Lieberman served in the Senate for more than 2 decades before he was succeeded by Chris Murphy. He was also on Vice President Gore's was the vice presidential nominee on the 2000 presidential ticket. Joe Lieberman was 82 years old. Let's bring in CBS News political contributor and Democratic strategist Joel Payne for reaction. Joel, what was Joe Lieberman's legacy?
Yeah, Jeff, good to be with you. Look, Senator Lieberman was a fixture in Washington, D.C. for so long. Young politicos like me who worked in the Senate saw him on Sunday morning talk shows, saw him up and down the halls of Capitol Hill. And, you know, I think obviously his political legacy is complicated in recent years, given the fact that the Democratic Party that he was so identified with early in his career, he created some distance from that party in later years. But that does not take away from a real legacy of public service. He will be missed. I imagine you will see an outpouring of affection, including from President Biden, who, while, again, there were differences between the gentlemen on politics in recent years, I imagine there's a lot of personal affection and a good personal rapport there. And I think you'll see a lot of Washington, D.C. Pay a lot of tribute to somebody who, again, was a fixture and was somebody for over 2 decades, really was a part of the soundtrack of Washington, D.C.
First Jewish candidate on a major party presidential ticket, which is pretty remarkable to be reminded of. Obviously, Gore and Lieberman lost the 2000 election, to Bush and Cheney, that election that went to the Supreme Court. They won the popular vote, lost in the Electoral College, an election that we all know was decided after it went to the Supreme Court following voting in Florida. What was it, Joel, that caused Joe Lieberman to split from his party? As we know, after that election, he lost his party's nomination, then ran independently and won another term as senator.
Yeah, it's interesting to talk about because, look, it was always I don't know if I would call it a tense relationship, but it was always a relationship filled with some tension with the Democratic Party, even from his 1988 election. He was a conservative Democrat from Connecticut. He was an outspoken critic of President Clinton when he was embroiled in the Monica Lewinsky affair. And when that came to public light, he was one of the only Democrats that was outspoken about that and was somebody who would buck the party, probably somebody like a Mitt Romney in our current parlance or Joe Manchin in our current parlance, but very much someone who was, pardon the phrase, a maverick to his party in those days. And so I think that was always a tense relationship, and I think that Senator Lieberman took pride in being a rather independent voice. But I think that after he was named as the vice presidential nominee in 2000, I think there were some real fissures between his relationship with the party, his views on issues, be it issues related to the Iraq War. He was a big-time thorn in the side of President Obama when he tried to pass Obamacare. I was there on Capitol Hill and remember a lot of those hearings and those press conferences where Senator Lieberman really tried to bring the Democratic Party maybe a little bit away from some of their more progressive leanings related to that. So again, it was always a tense relationship, and I think that when he left public office after his final term in the Senate, I think that somewhat completed what was always, again, a very tenuous relationship there.
Joel, I don't know how much you know, but what was he like in person?
You know, I got a chance to meet Senator Lieberman a couple times in person. Always found him to be a charming gentleman, somebody who really appreciated and respected the mores of Washington, D.C. Again, somebody who really liked being of D.C. He's a lion of the Senate. He's from a bygone era, and he's somebody who I don't think there are a lot of Joe Liebermans in the Senate anymore, people who are kind of singular. That's a term I would use to think about a Joe Lieberman. But he was certainly a gentleman in my interactions with him. And I know a lot of folks in Washington, D.C., including myself, mourn his loss and send well wishes to his family.
He's the leader, was still the leader of the No Labels movement. Is that a group that you think is important? And I'm not sure where exactly they go from here, but just talking about the name of it and what he was trying to do.
Yeah, it's a little bit, look, it's part of that complex political legacy that I referred to a little bit earlier. He was a very well-known surrogate for No Labels. I'm not sure what his most recent title was with the organization, but somebody who very much was a part of the effort to potentially run a third-party candidate this presidential cycle. And look, that rankled a lot of Democrats, frankly, including many who are associated with the organization that I work with right now. So that's a current news event where I think Joe Lieberman was very relevant, and an organization that he's a part of was very relevant. But I think a lot of people can do the compartmentalizing of understanding maybe some disagreements about policy, but deep respect and admiration for a long career and a life well lived.
Joel Payne, thanks so much for your thoughts.
Thank you.
Again, former Connecticut Senator Joe Lieberman has died at the age of 82 following a fall at his home.